lovely people, and welcome to another installment of Galactic Mayan Astrology. So this is a Galactic Mayan Astrology report for the 3rd of December 2019. And I've got a couple of announcements that I'm going to be making at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that because it's very exciting. But yeah, first things first. The energy of the Wavespell that we are moving into, so the 13-day process that we are going to be beginning on the 3rd of December, is the energy of yellow seed. So you'll remember a little while ago, we went through the Wavespell process of red serpent. And the reason that was so big is because there were 10 portal days back to back. Now I did a little video at that time about portal days, and you can tune into that again if you feel to, or if you've not seen it before, because in yellow seed Wavespell, this Wavespell, we've got another 10 days back to back of portal days. So it's going to be intense, but it's a different kind of intense. So the Wavespell that we just came through of Blue Monkey is in the centre of the 9-month process. So our shit really came up. Now I'm aware that when I did the last video, I was leaving it quite light because I don't like to plant things in, people's awareness about, shitty things that can happen. But it was a really, really, really massive Wavespell. Blue Monkey in the centre is literally the core of our shit. So for me personally, the shit hit the fan. But as a result of that, it's like this beautiful space has now been created. And that's why it always leads us into this yellow seed process, because we go through this chaotic, painful, challenging process of seeing, what the wounding is on our heart that still hasn't been released yet, and going through these different gateways and portals and all of that to then come into a space where we're able to plant. And that's what yellow seed energy is all about. So the first half of the 9-month process is like the spiral inward. Then we get to that central point and then we spiral outward again with everything that we've learned from that previous half a cycle. So we're now beginning to take those first steps on the outward spin of our spiral. So yellow seed energy really invites us to feel into what it is that we want. What is it that we want to live? What is it that we want to experience within this reality of all of the different things that are on offer? And we get to see a little bit later in our process what seeds we're able to take, and if the fertile ground is available for us, then we're able to manifest anything. And there's really that energy within yellow seed of recognizing that we are the creative force. We are consciousness. So wherever our consciousness decides to go, whatever we decide to bring into reality is going to come into reality. But as I've mentioned so many times during these videos, if we've got loads of murky things in our subconscious, then it's going to be very difficult for us to manifest the life that we want to live from a conscious place, because we've got all of this shit in different areas of our energy field that we're not aware of, that's constantly magnetizing the opposite of what we want. But for once, yellow seed is the kind of energy that isn't really about that. It kind of does dictate what seeds will grow, but the real energy of yellow seed is just to plant loads. So there's a beautiful, experience of doing things like vision boards. This is a really good time to do vision boards, to get clear about what it is that you want, how you want your life to look in all the different areas of your life. But then obviously, as is always the case, we've got to make those steps toward it. And I watched a really beautiful thing last night, I think it was. It was a David Attenborough TV show, so it was all about the planet, and it was all about forests and forest fires, and something that came through that felt really in alignment for me with the yellow seed energy, because a lot of the forests of the world, these huge forests, go through these massive fires, And I know that there have been some very, very significant fires, over the past year at different places in the world, but it's quite a normal thing for there to be huge forest fires. And it can seem that like everything is done and finished during that time, because obviously after the fire has moved on, everything's singed, everything's burned, everything looks dead. But what actually happens during that cleansing process is life goes underground. And what that burning permits is for the canopy of trees to open in a way that has not been possible when the leaves have been there. So then all of a sudden, all this new life that's underneath the ground has actually got the space to come out. So following the last Wavespell, where we really had to face our stuff or be thrown around by our stuff, it's the same thing, we're still experiencing it. That has created a space for us. So it's created a space for us to seed. And, when we are seeding from our heart, when we're connecting into, that really beautiful, juicy energy that we all have within us that makes us sing, we're all planting the same stuff. And be aware of not going into the darkness with your planting, and worrying and planting all those seeds of like gunkiness. And be aware of where your thoughts are and your feelings are over this period, over this Wavespell, because it's a really amazing time for manifestation. If we are unconsciously throwing seeds everywhere that we don't really want to be reaping in a little while, we're going to be in a bit of a mess, But if we can consciously align with, okay, this is what I'm wanting to step forward towards, then we're really in a space, of expansion. So also within this energy, as I say, we're now on the spiral out of the center, out of our gunk, out of our heart. So we also are beginning to sort of settle into the energy of all the hard work. It's kind of, we get a little bit of a little bit of a rest. Whilst resting though, it's a super activated time because we've got these amazing portal days. But the energy is more about, our consciousness and sort of playfully opening. The seed energy as well is like the new awareness. So what have we learned, through this time that began in July last year? Yeah, it began in July last year, and we've kind of moved through that first half because it began just before the Mayan New Year, early July. So what have we learned between July and now? What is it? What is this new awareness that's carrying forward for us? And how can we hone that more? And now that we understand ourselves more and, understand our relationships better, and we're getting a bit more of a feel for, what life is actually like now, as opposed to what we projected that life would be like. Now that we're in this space of like, okay, so this is how all of that looks right now. And there's still that stuff going on, but that stuff's really expanded. From that space, what do we want our next steps to be? And I think it's really important as well to recognize that, we might plant our dream as this, but what actually happens might be this. We're going toward that, but there might be other pit stops that we've got to make first. There might be that it looks completely different when the creator's looking at it, when our higher self is actually doing the rearranging of the puzzle pieces. It might be that what we actually want to get to, we don't even know yet. So it's like planting our awareness there. We might go that way, but actually what's there is closer to what we were seeking through planting that seed there than if we actually got to that, if that makes sense. So it's a really, really beautiful time. Like I say, it's super full power. So if you are wanting to make changes in your life, like we all are, but recognizing all of the change that we've been through in the past few years, but this is a really, really good time for planting, for visioning, for feeling into, what it is that sets our heart on fire and how we want to live, from the simplest things to the really big things as well. So it can be a really beautiful time as well for following the cues. Following the cues, I found myself in this really beautiful forest. I can take a moment to have some presence and to feel into what I'm wanting to call forward and plant those seeds. It can be a really beautiful time to actually physically go somewhere and to muse and to call in, and to trust. Once you have sort of put your heart into that seed and planted it, then it's down to all that is, that beautiful orchestra of all that is, and for you to trust that to then come into alignment with that reality. So for me, this Wavespell is going to be really, really massive because I'm launching 2 new things. So I've created this thing called Astro Essences, and essentially it's like 3 products that have been created through me studying really in depth the energy of aromatherapy and the energy of the batch flower remedies to find the most aligned scents and flower essences for each of the Mayan signs. So I've come up with like these different blends for each of the 20 archetypes. And then from there, I've created those scents, then go into a smudge spray, some bath salts, and also like a balm that can be used as a solid perfume or a relaxation tool. So that's a really, really, really big thing for me to be seeding this Wavespell. And I invite you to go and have a look at it. It's on my Etsy, which is now up. And the second thing that I'm wanting to announce, the second thing that I'm going to be seeding over this Wavespell, I've just become a Sekhem Master, which is really, really, really exciting. And I've been working with the energy of Sekhem for quite a few years now. So Sekhem for me is like the divine feminine energy lineage that is the equivalent of Reiki, which I feel is the divine masculine thread. So I'm going to be doing on the 3rd of January 2020, just into the new year, I'm going to be doing a Sekhem training retreat. So it's going to be over the course of a weekend in a really beautiful place in Yorkshire. In the Yorkshire Dales. It's really, really beautiful. And over the course of that training retreat, we're really going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of what it is to be an energy practitioner and what that looks like for you. So we're going to explore your astrology, explore your interest and your gifts and all of the different things that make you you and make your heart sing, and then work with that whilst learning about the energy and doing the attunements to craft a vision of what your energy healing practice looks like and who you are as a practitioner, and a little bit of business stuff to get you set up and started. So the prerequisite for that is to be attuned to Reiki. That is the foundation. With anybody that trains people in Sekhem, you've got to have Reiki already under your belt. So have a little look on my website as well for more information about that, which is jyotiofferings.com. And yeah, so I hope that you have a really wonderful Wavespell. It's really important, for us to keep emptying all that tightness that sometimes gets in the way of our dreams. When we are feeling into what we wanting to create and what we wanting to do, there's that beautiful window of time where it all feels really electric and all feels really exciting. So this Wavespell can be that time. So anything that you've ever wanted to do, plant it, because what makes your heart sing is what's going to make our collective heart sing. That's what it's all about. So have a wonderful Wavespell, and like I say, have a little look on my Etsy, Jyoti Offerings Shop, and have a little look on my website too, which is jyotiofferings.com. So I'm sending you loads and loads of love. Have a beautiful Wavespell.